Vision equals confusion. If you don't have vision, it will create confusion.
David Abel, thank you so much for joining us, champion.
You're
Best
welcome.
ever. I wonder. So for all our listeners out there, we've just been on probably a Jeepers Creepers 15-minute, 20-minute chat already. I wonder how much of that we might put some of that in the back end of the podcast, David. There's some gold in that. Always the gold. The gold sometimes happens off camera, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you don't know when it's coming.
That's it, exactly. So very quickly, let's quickly jump into Find Your Influence. Our podcast is Find Your Influence. We've had some amazing guests on, and I can't wait to find out what influence means to you. Though first, light bulb moments. So you started during COVID to help people have light bulb moments, is my understanding. Can you just quickly talk us through that a little bit, please, mate?
Yeah, absolutely. I just finished a $500 million mandate. I'd got to breaking point with work and my family. I was living in Vietnam. I'd come back to the UK, and I got back 2 months before COVID. And like everyone else, we all went online. We all went digital, and I was looking for a business name. And I'm in e-commerce and marketing, so I was desperately looking for the digital something. And I looked up the digital works, the digital shelf, the digital this, the digital that. Every name I could think of had already been taken. And I didn't think we were even that far into our digital journey. I helped a friend of mine who is a personal trainer. It's on LinkedIn. It's a testimonial that says, Dave is my light bulb go-to for ideas. And I just went, ah. And she goes, do you understand that? I said, I totally understand it. That real-time conversations, not guru fluff. You know, I've never been a guru fluff person. I've always been confident and certain what I'm talking about, he says, yeah, before we do this podcast. And that was it. Dave's my light bulb. So I looked up the name, The Digital Light Bulb. It was there for like £1, a couple of dollars, whatever the conversion is on the domain websites. Light bulb moments were then whenever I was with clients, people would say, there's the light bulb moments. And actually, I found over the last 5 or 6 years, we've all got those light bulb moments. And I was just very pleased to be able to pin my brand DNA to something that's one, inside me, and two, pretty cool for everyone.
Brand DNA. I love that. Thanks for sharing. What a great
You're
story.
welcome.
And I feel like when we have light bulb moments, obviously it's the speed of implementation. Yeah, you have the idea. A lot of people probably park that idea because out of fear, David. Like, what's the skill for you? Like you've been pretty successful in business. What's the skill for you to actually go from? How do you influence yourself to go from idea to implementation? What's the journey for
Yeah,
you?
I mean, I've always grown up in environments. I was at a company called Ted Baker. You know, the clothing company.
I should say yes. It sounded familiar, though I don't know it.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. I wish I
So
did.
so I was in a business there that was set from entrepreneurs. It was 1999. I was only 20 years old, so I'm 46 now. Before anyone needs to do the maths, um, 20 years old. A business that was on 15 million, run by entrepreneurs, and we took it 20 to 100 million. Speed of implementation was absolutely the key thing. A good idea is one thing, but actually moving it there. Systems, frameworks, readiness plans, they're all cures, remedies, or if you like, or ways, approaches that I use to get going. I just think that, again, that's just naturally in me from those days. The faster you move, the quicker the result, the quicker the learn, the quicker the change, the quicker the grow.
And you talked before, David, about it being in your DNA. It's
Mm.
like, for you, when you say that, I've been implementing quick since I was 19 and 20 in an
Yeah.
organization, and it's just become natural, normalized for you. For some people, it's probably not, and they've probably got to do a fair bit of work to get themselves over some fear, over some procrastination, maybe. I
I
wonder
think
if
so.
there's.
I mean, I,
Mm,
as I've gone through life,
mm,
I was working in Dubai, and I was closer to 40 at this point. So I was, within the senior management team, and even the best people there would often say to me, "You've got a good knack of being able to see down the track as well." Now, a few years later, I think the undiagnosed ADHD that I found when I was 42 came out. And that is one of I never like to use the word superpower because, we could talk about weaknesses and superpowers and make a split between people. But it's one of those things that's a strength of mine, definitely being able to see down the track, and I just get out of the blocks quick as well. And that's even running with some of the best people in the organization who just said, but you can see round corners almost. Um, so yes, I can get off and running, and still to this day, even with my sort of business friends and contacts, I've co-authored a book, I've written a podcast, I've grown businesses from 4 to 50 million in the last 3 years. I just have a capacity to be able to somehow do it quicker or more effective, um, and be accepting of the learn, change, grow. Again, it's a mantra of mine, and whether people are afraid or they have imposter syndrome, I'm not sure because everyone keeps those things invisible. But for me,
that's
let's go, let's
right.
smash it up. There's a lot of energy, that's untamed, but it's curious what will happen. And then generally, having a $1 billion career turnover behind me and some great roles, I guess I've been right more than I've been wrong on these things.
Creepers, creepers. I love that curiosity piece. Learn, change, grow. What does that mean? Where did that come from? How did that become a mantra for you?
Yeah, right. So as I said, at 42, undiagnosed ADHD. I'm working in a menswear brand called Sons. Fantastic clothing, fantastic people in there. They're all neurodiverse, and they're all a long way ahead in their journey, understanding they've got ADHD. There was one of the team who was 28. She got diagnosed when she was like a teenager. When I was a teenager, ADHD wasn't even a thing. If it was a very few small amount of kids who were naughty. So I didn't have that because I'm a very good boy, right? And then when I found out and worked with these people, it was James, the business owner, who said in his old branding, they used to call it launch, change, grow. So they would launch a project for other people. And I said it wrong. Actually, I said it wrong. I said, "Come on, James, it's learn, change, grow." And he said, "No, and he said, "Actually, I'll prefer yours because launch has to be directly tied to a project, right? Learn, we can now bring that into human and business world as well." So I didn't make it, but it really it just okay, I call it Cupid strikes to kill. I don't know if anyone has ever said something to you, and however stubborn or set in your ways you are, it's almost like Cupid got an arrow, shot you in the heart, and you just go, "You got me," you know. Uh, Chat GPT would say that one cuts deep, but that's how I see it. Cupid strikes to kill. The moment when someone shoots you in the heart, learn, change, grow was completely again my own personal DNA of how I do things. And I just took it on from there. He didn't mind. I hope you don't mind, James.
Thanks, James.
Yeah.
James has obviously influenced you in some way, shape, or form. And and
Yes.
and let's talk influence.
Yeah.
For you to have the success that you've had, the achievements that you have, to be able to have in your DNA just business growth and personal growth for yourself and other humans. How do you bring people on the journey with you? Because it's if you ask Arnie Schwarzenegger, you mentioned Arnie before, he always says that he's not a self-made person, and I guess you've got probably a lot of people around you and your team over time. What's the secret to influencing others, mate? And you can see around corners where others can't, so you have to sort of
Yeah.
communicate that vision.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Hmm.
I'll take it away from me now after that intro, and give this one back to your audience, right? What does influence mean, right? In the dictionary, you'll get some kind of word persuasion, right? In my world, we talk marketing. I got to persuade customers. I'm looking for yes. Okay, I'm looking for a yes, but I'm not just marketing within the boardroom. I'm looking for a yes that people understand. Influence in the old days might have been, oh, the main boss is the most influential person. No, no, not at all. I was chatting to my neighbor about influence actually this morning. I said, I'm coming on the show, we're talking influence. And she says, and she's a teaching assistant, so she doesn't have any fancy job title, but she walks the school, she hears the children, and the senior leadership team will say, let's ask Alex. Alex is the go-to person. You know, people in business, they're at any level, aren't they? Anton, he's the go-to person. I've always been the go-to person, regardless of my title. So I believe that influence is persuasion, but not in that yes. I love influence in terms of impact, but impact for me also means are we making some kind of permanent or long-lasting change? Okay, so impact is not always business because business changes all the times. So when we go back to business teams and getting a yes or getting buy-in from whoever, that yes of influence is tied to someone else's KPIs. Okay, no one's going to
Oh,
come with you if it's not tied to their KPIs. They're just too busy or they don't give a shit if we can swear on your show. I'm not sure. Or
you
if
can
you want to
swear.
edit that,
No, no, swear,
they,
swear
it's
away.
not for theirs, right? Yeah, cool. So I'll go back to Ted Baker, right? 20 years old. I'm an allocator. An allocator in those days would speak to all the shops and arrange five blue shirts to this one, five white t-shirts, the package that's been designed, and it goes to this profile of shops, right? It's not a big title. We had no digital stores. We had no email. We had no digital reports. I had a full pack like that. Now, that took a long time to do. And I said, let's digitalize these reports so I could firstly speed it up. Okay, speed of why ADHD? I'm impatient. I need these reports quick. I can't just. And it was a big pack like that. And obviously, you can influence to say, do you know you're spending $20 on paper every Monday from menswear, women's wear, and somewhere else. So it wasn't hard to get those kind of efficiencies within the business, yes. But I was close to every detail. I held every single store's KPIs literally in my hand and my head. And what would happen is firstly, on a Monday, the whole business, right, the whole Ted Baker business would go and sit downstairs in the little cafe restaurant and talk about sales. Now, when the CEO walks in, everyone's on edge. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. But I held every single KPI in my head. So I could say, this is working, that's working. I think based on what I see, early reactions, we sold 70, but you know what? Had that been a full week, had it been all stores, we'd have sold 300. And the business would say, shall we rebuy based on 300? And I was certain, I was confident, I was trusted, and I was holding their KPIs. If we increase the buy four times, you're going to sell out of stock. Now, that's someone without a job title. That's one level of influence that I had. People knew who I was. People would come to my desk. You're the go-to person. We don't need to ask your boss. And your boss would say, "Oh, it's David. He knows everything." I'm cracking on building that. There's one level of influence. Second level of influence is I'm then on to the stores and they're like, help me, you know, where do I go? And I say, well, I can see you haven't sold this leather jacket. Where is it? And they go, it's out the back. Get it on the floor. Or it's with the blue shirt. And I say that store's with the yellow shirt. And after a little while, I'll be honest, I've played little games just to test things. I would say, you know, that store sold seven of those jeans. You know, we launched a new product, it had failed. Um, that store sold seven, right? They didn't, they sold one. That store had sold one. And I'd say that store sold nine. And next week they both come in with 15 because they made the effort. They went and looked for, we knew that product was good, but we didn't know why it had failed. And sometimes just a little bit of that would do it. So I think
Well,
when you have the energy, the clarity, you're a safe pair of hands. And because I'm standing up in the meeting and saying, I know with certainty this is where it's at, they will say, good. Now, we've all heard this expression though. If you don't know, say, I'm
Say,
not sure, can I check? Okay. And this is where influence can actually work against you. For anyone out there who feels pressured into it, or, hey, mate, not everyone's excellent and perfect as us. Okay. In our world, some people just make up shit in meetings. And and that's not the truth. And it's very hard to go, he's lying, and that causes problems. So they have less influence because one, half the team knows, okay. Two, eventually that catches up with you. That department's going to fall over. That wasn't the right answer, and people have gone off, and at Ted Baker again, if we give the wrong answer and people went off and did it, and then they found out, and it was like, you've just wasted six people, or sorry, the impact of that, not you, that you've wasted, I've said it again, six
yeah,
people's time who've gone off to factories and all this, that, and the other just because you got it wrong. Right? Learn, change, grow, work out what you did, but just don't say, if you're going to be influential, don't make up stuff. You've got to be super, super honest. So that really, I hope, is my guide to, be certain, understand your numbers. That's why they say know your numbers and get close to the detail. And just the same as yeah, same with my teacher. She's close to the detail of what the kids are saying. So she's the go-to person. How are we going to improve lunchtimes? Well, this is the problem. They got no idea. They would never know.
love it. And
Yeah.
you skipped over one word really quickly. You actually said you've got to have some energy. You said
Yeah.
energy, consistency, and clarity, and then obviously know your numbers, and then certainty and honesty. But the
Yeah.
first word you said was energy, and I really resonated with that, David, because I feel, without energy, without a little bit of purpose and with a bit of passion, it's really
Mm.
hard to influence anyone because, energy is contagious. It's actually called emotional contagion in psychology, and without that energy, it's really hard to get anyone moving because if you don't feel it, they
Yeah.
probably won't. What's that
So,
mean to you?
well, no, it's really good that you picked up on that, actually. Energy is contagious, but it's repeatable as well. So then when we go into the next meeting, we're going, where's the wins, Dave? I'm included. Dave, what does Dave think? And everyone's pumped because Dave's come up with this. And I'm like, great, I came up with that. I could personally tie myself to it.
Right.
And the reverse is too many meetings and not enough momentum. Oof. And then, oh my God, the energy is contagious in the wrong way of we're just dragging
Mhm.
here, no actions, no implementation, round and round, no detail, no certainty, no trust. The boss will say, I can't sign it off, go and do more work,
Yeah, right.
So the
I love it.
energy is backed up by a lot of preparation.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like public speaking, like podcasting,
Got
like
it.
life. The more prep you do, the higher your success rate, obviously.
And again, the clarity, when I was fast forward many years working in Vietnam with a low English speaking
Of course.
kind of staff mix. One
Mm.
guy presented an Excel sheet with, honestly, it was the smallest thing you've ever seen, and I could see everyone's getting exasperated. And we had the family there from Thailand, who, they're the royalty of the business. You can't actually get into their leadership team. It's just family only there. And I had one that was just clean, three buckets. This is the problem. This is the solution. These are the tactics or the risk, something like that. That was just very clean. And the owner taking photos. What's up in it? This is how we do it, guys. So yeah, you've got to the
Simplicity.
energy. It just builds confidence.
Love it. Thank you, David. Love your work. Mate, who's had the biggest influence on you? Like when you look back
Mm.
on your career, and it's probably someone from Ted Baker or did you say Anson closed before?
And Sons, yes.
Anson.
Like the butchers would be like Roberts and Sons. There'd be the dad and
Oh,
his sons would
right.
yeah, they just called it
Gotcha.
and Sons. They're all kind of
Ansons.
artisan-y kind of makers of product. They didn't really, I wouldn't say they've had the biggest influence in my career.
Right, right.
Um,
Mm.
I've
Who
moved a
has?
lot of I've moved a lot of numbers. In the last few years, it's about people who move cultures. We're all defined by our experiences, and mine is a
Mm-hmm.
little bit unique because I'm an only child, but my mum is also the oldest of 10. So I grew up in a place where we would all go to my granddad's house. And so being around so many different personalities, I label them my safe people. They've got nothing against you, only got your best interest at heart. They'll never let you get your head up too big, and that it's a British thing perhaps, or maybe you feel the
Oh, it's an
same,
Aussie thing too, don't worry.
yeah.
Tall poppy syndrome we've got over here.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
worry
yeah,
about
yeah. Lots of conversations, and I guess that made me very comfortable being and speaking in groups of people. So I have to say that luckily that experience unique to me made me feel comfortable speaking. And when it was Ted Baker and everyone was there, or any other business I've worked in, easy to put your hand up. My wife, I have to say, we've been together nearly 20 years.
that. Oh,
She will tell me the hardest truths and she will get the best out of me as well. So, again, just take this as a leadership lesson. If you don't have alignment with each other, with each other's values, and you can't be honest with each other, whether it's so we'll just call that relationships, right? But obviously, my wife, knowing me inside and out over 20 years, she's there, especially as kids arrive. My kids are 11 and 8, so even more. We're not us be them. We never have been, but now we have to really think as mature people. As my daughter hits secondary school, and my son gets to the age of when I had trauma, and that can unsettle you, and all the experiences we went through as young kids and teenagers. Learning the hard ways of lives. Globally, I've been influenced by some really great people. I'm going to shout a couple out. Queen Diambi. She is a queen from Congo. She's in charge of the Bakwa Luntu people. Queen Diambi, if you are listening, um, I hope I've said all that correct. Now, she spoke and has texted me about the people that fall under her actually live in the second largest rainforest in the world, 3 million people, and she's got affiliation to Brazil as well. So the forests and the trees, and she says there are still people on this earth that can connect with trees, nature, and animals and read and hear them. I love going for walks every day. And she said to me, those sacred medicines, you ain't going to learn that in today's tech age anymore. If we lose those people and we lose those things, they're things we're never
you
going to
don't get
go,
back.
nah, it is gone. So she told me this, and she said, these are sacred medicines that stop the world falling into the abyss of terror. Now, that's quite a powerful text to wake up to on a Wednesday morning, Anton, I can tell you. But through it all, she has told me that kindness and compassion are two of those sacred medicines. So for anyone listening out there who is kind and compassionate, you keep it up, because this is what we are passing from across millions and millions and thousands and millions a year. Professor Akhtar Badshah, he was on the Microsoft philanthropy board, I think, of the director of philanthropy. He came from non-profits and great experiences worldwide, as far as living in caves in China to understand the human condition. I was lucky to spend a lot of time with him over a weekend, and have become, friends, I would say, along the way. And he teaches purpose. For anyone out there, go and look him up. If you don't know your purpose or what it means, he can teach you it, and he can put it in groups, and he's got questionnaires that will just reframe your thinking. And when we talk about energy, first time I met him, I said, "Oh, it's nice to meet you. I want to ask you a question." I said, "Me and this girl who work together, we are full of passion, we're full of energy." And I said, "But sometimes, is it enough? Is that what's going to get me through?" And he said, "No, no, no, no. Purpose first, passion next. If you're passionate, but it's the wrong purpose, okay,
It'll
you could
die
do a great
eventually.
job, but you've got the vision wrong. You're going to be hitting the wrong thing, and not doing
Right.
it professionally. Chris Brown, who was at Ted Baker, he was the person, along with John Dalton, his training business partner, but Chris Brown was the retail global director. He's the first person, and still the best person in 25 years, I guess, 26 years since 1999, that's taught me it's about the people as well as the business.
We're all in the people business, David Abel.
Ain't it? It's got to, but it
Mate,
has to be. I believe it's 50% your skills and 50% the people.
mate, I'm with you. I'm with you. That's, yeah, we're in the people business because we help
Yeah.
leaders create psychologically safe and high performing teams. And that's just really about elevating humans and giving humans a
Yeah.
voice. And, we talk about care, so communicate with acceptance, responsibility, and empathy. And I love that kindness and compassion, because that's what empathy is. Compassion is an element of empathy, as you know, and there is no compassion without an action. What are you actually doing to help another human to be their best? Is it giving them your time, your talent, or your treasure, as Lewis Howes might call it? And that's sort of part of that growth and development that we take people on, and we build relationships with people, and people rely on us as their leaders to influence them positively, have an impact, the influence, and sometimes even just to be the inspiration for them, because that inspire to breathe into another human is a beautiful thing to be able to do. So,
That is.
David Abel, you're,
um,
you're a champion.
Thanks very much. So, there's other things as well, though, right?
Yeah.
How we coach others.
How we develop them.
Yeah. Um, but people say talk about, you talked about creating safety. I
Psychological
always
safety.
like to think, yeah, what does it mean? What does creating safety mean? Okay. Can you make somebody secure? If you can make somebody feel secure enough to take a risk. I want to talk about my friend Gemma, if she's out there. She's expecting a baby. And again, if she's listening, I'm going to tell them all I mentioned them. And this sounds like a shout out to everyone. But there was one of my team, Gemma, right? She was in Dubai with me, an expat. She was one of 6 or 7, and she rose forward for promotion. Out of those, there was no competition between them. She just rose forward by what she was displaying. She wanted it financially, of course. She wanted it from a career
Yes.
perspective, but with the role became presenting. Now, I'm all right at presenting because I grew up in a family of 50 people, and that was just the 10 was just the uncles. They were married and their children. So, people were queuing up to get in the
Thousands.
kitchen. Yeah, my cousin Richard said he used to queue up because he couldn't get in the kitchen just to get food, which made me laugh. He's about 8 years
I
younger than
love it.
me.
I love it.
But I had a challenge with Gemma that as part of this role is you will present as my deputy. And some days I want you to lead on. Okay. Now, when it came to putting a readiness plan together, absolutely no worries. When it came to her saying, "What do you need?" I got it. Leave it with me. We'll get it done. She knew. But presenting was an area where she didn't feel safe. So it's about making her feel secure. That's how you can create some safety, not just don't shout at people. What does safety mean? Where is there uh not risks the wrong, where's their weaker area? What's
Mm.
creating anxiety for them? I've
Where's
got
the
a
fear coming from?
framework. Yeah, I think it's called the Nooster, Knooster framework. This helps me a lot. And it basically says 5 things that create change. And if you get them wrong, this is the psychological reaction. So I'll run them through if that's all right, real quick.
Yeah, please.
Vision, skills, incentive, tools, and action plan. Okay, let me break it down a little bit more for you. Vision equals confusion. If you don't have vision, it will create confusion. And my team in Dubai who did
Wow.
emails first time, right time, a lot of the time, or third time, it's never second time. It was that I said, why did you do it first time and sometimes third? Because when you do it third time, you're wasting the day now. And they said, we don't always know what you want. My vision of, like a hotel was too loose. Vision is confusion. This is where, let's say, Gemma came in. Sorry, Gem, if you're listening, bud. Uh, skills is anxiety. She had a lot of skills, but she didn't have presenting skills. So that was causing her anxiety. You, hopefully that's one of them Cupid strikes to kill, right? This
Yes,
one here,
big time.
incentive, sorry, is resistance. If there's no incentive, there'll be resistance. Hey, we're changing everything. That's not how we do it. Hey, I'm what we did was we plugged all the store stock into our website, so our availability went up, so there was more choice online, and we gave the stores no incentive at all. They're like, you're using two of my staff every day, you're taking my stock so I can't sell it, and then I have to restock my shelves. And they only had a 50% completion rate. We spent 6 months, 6 months of meeting, trying to work out why the stock system wasn't working. And as soon as we paid for their staff and gave them a 15% cut of the sales, magically it went to 95%. Incentive is resistance. But you might say, all right, what about what if it's not a financial? We can't just pay people off, right? I've learned that lesson with my son. Paying him off
Yeah.
only causes more payoffs. Give me more, give me more. I'm not doing it unless you pay me, right? How about so it's changing your habits. How about this? Why don't we try that for 30 days and see how it goes? And then if it
Mm,
doesn't work, we can go back. Their
mm.
incentive is we can go back to the old ways. And if it's a good enough idea, they'll soon see the benefits in 30 days, just like if you give up smoking or start doing exercise, it launches in. Tools is frustration for anyone who's out there with a shit Wi-Fi and an old Excel that keeps crashing. you'll I worked with a buyer who said, I went into my last managing director with a keyboard and I said, if you don't change this, I'm going to put this through the screen. She was so frustrated with, that. And frustration is anger. And that's the last thing you want in your business. And then the final one that's relevant to some, I guess what we talked about, action plan. I've worked with some awesome experiential people who design it all up and go, here's what it's going to do, and la 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 la. And you say, God, crack on with it. 3 weeks later, they haven't done anything because they don't know where
Right.
to start. They don't know where to start. So action plan is false start. If you can tick all of them, or if you're a leader and you just have them on your desk and you observe and listen to the noises, you'll say, you'll be more, it will help with your empathy as well. What am I looking for here? Is it my vision? Is it my vision? The team pushed it back on me. We don't know what you want. Wow. Starts with me, and you've been there where your boss has gone,
Absolutely.
oh, and you go, I don't know what he means,
Fuzzy.
right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And my team have said that to me.
Have they?
Mm,
Perfect, though. It's a great one. I think that should be every
mm,
manager's responsibility. Is this vision correct? But for everyone else,
mm,
Gemma as the example there,
mm.
I need help speaking because I said, go and present, just get it done. And she went, last week's sales were la 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 la, and then 30 seconds she's going, and it was just like, whoa, breathe, breathe. And what was showing was this: her content of the presentation was excellent, her ideas, her interpretation, her next steps were all great, but just her getting redder in the face and breathing fast. Everyone was more concerned for her, but but then she's like, that, oh, that's terrible. I can't do that again. You have to. You have to. You're gonna need a coach. I'm gonna sit with you,
Correct.
but
And
then
be your coach.
you've got to do it. So I think
Good on
that for
you.
me is creating safety, is making people feel secure. You're aligned to their goals, not just theirs, and that builds confidence. Whether you're advising a
Oh,
brand or managing a team, same thing. The most favorite review, the most common one I got is, we now have confidence.
can I tell you, it's powerful, another Cupid. Because I say courage, right, is to get over
Yeah,
fear. So courage first. So Gemma need to be courageous enough to get up there. But here's the challenge: confidence comes from continuation. Doing it
yeah,
once is never enough. It's this whole repetition,
yeah,
and eventually, once you become confident enough because you've done it enough, I wonder whether then the confidence turns into competence because you've done it enough, and all of a sudden you can say, you know what, I'm okay at this. And it all
yeah,
starts with getting over that fear, courage, confidence, competence, I say to
yeah.
our staff.
The courage. I think I've got something a little bit similar. Courage to get up there, bravery to actually do it
Oh,
builds confidence. But we were talking off camera, if it doesn't get in, if you don't go from 0 to 1, well, that's your courage and your bravery. If you get to 1 and you don't like it, learn, change, grow. It's the benchmark of where you're at. Just make it a little bit better. I watched a really good thing on YouTube actually, and it was a sports coach, and he said, and there was Mary in the 100 meters, and she ran down the track and she come 8th out of 8th, and she ran it in 18 seconds. And Mary was like, "Oh, I did terrible," and he said, "No, no, 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 you did brilliant." And she goes, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "You did fantastic." He goes, 20 seconds is usually what they run on their first one. And he goes, "Not only did you beat 19, which I thought you might be able to do, you set your own personal best. You set your own world record, your own world record." A comparison, the thief of joy, and all those expressions. But when you set your own world record, if she runs 17.9 next time, she'll be doing a lap of honor, right?
how good. Talking about being a good coach and helping
Yeah,
people feel better about themselves.
yeah,
That is dead set a gift, isn't it, for a coach to be able to do that and to be able to, and you know, the reframe from
yeah,
to right, maybe
yeah.
I am capable.
It happens in life.
Oh,
It happens
I
in life.
know.
I'll tell you,
So true.
yeah, and I'll
Hmm.
tell you a small personal touching story if you like.
Could you
Um,
please?
uh, well, I wrote a book. I'll just drop that in there. It's called How to
Yeah.
Survive and Thrive. It was by the founder of Reebok, Joe Foster, and a business called
Right.
One Golden Nugget.
Right.
And it talks about people's stories about when they had to go through survival moments and how they thrived as well. And in our community group, we had a Monday motivation, and he just did a little voice message, 7 seconds long. And he said, "Remember, it's not over until you've won. Okay, don't worry about the time it takes. It's never over until you've won. It's not in anyone else's hands. 99.9% of the time, it's down to you. It can be just as much fun the next time, if not more fun in
That's
life."
right.
And my wife's had some surgery recently. She's now having to have further
She's good.
treatment as well. And we've
She's
got
good.
like the 14th of November is the day when this all ends. So it's not going to be over until we've won, and we will win one day. You just have to be patient and know, keep going.
Just
Just
no.
just keep going.
Just no.
And they're the words straight out of Joe's mouth, to be honest with you. Just keep going. What does it say there? I
Probably
can't
can't.
quite read that.
Pain is temporary.
There we go. Pain is temporary.
So stay strong. I
Stay strong. And
literally
pain leads
I
to
have
suffering.
can I ask you one final question? This will be really short and sharp.
Mhm.
Who would you get on next if you were me?
Oh gosh, I have a
Well,
list of people. I have a list of people. If you want to go absolutely ape shit, you've got to try and get this guy called Rick Macy on.
Rick,
He
Macy.
was the tennis coach of the Williams sisters. Um, and I sat on a call with him for about 30 minutes, and I must have got 40 nuggets. My pad was full. He talks in little one-liner analogies, and his coaching ways are phenomenal. Actor from a purpose lens, if you were really going down something more. There's another thing though I have, right? There's levels in intelligence. We've all heard of IQ. How smart you are.
Oh,
Maybe yours is
absolutely.
110,
I
mine's
get it.
105.
No,
I could learn all that, right? But then we've got
I reckon I'm
EQ.
about 100. EQ.
Okay. EQ, emotional intelligence. SQ, spiritual intelligence.
Oh,
P PQ, positive intelligence. And if you wanted somebody who could roll that up, my dear friend who's in Canada, a lady called Ipek Williamson, she is a positivity coach, and she'll lift you up and pop all kinds of things as well. So if it's those kind of things, I'd put her. If it's purpose, if it's actor, and if you just want pure motivation and energy, Rick is your guy.
cannot thank you enough. I don't know how I can thank people like yourself for the time, the energy, the gold nuggets, and just grateful that you're willing
It's
and
a
able
honestly,
to do this for me.
it's a pleasure if it helps others as well.
Oh,
It's wonderful to
absolutely.
connect, and
David,
I when people say let's connect, I believe connection should go further as well. Not just hey, we're on LinkedIn connected. Let's have an intro call. Let's have a podcast. Let's share socials and maybe meet up in the future. Because if you build relationships over time in different ways, that's when authenticity will really come through. And that's when people have your back. And that's when people say good things when you're not around.
That's when the magic happens, they say.
Great. Well, thanks for
David
having me on,
Abel,
Anton.
mate, best ever. Thank you so much.